Let us begin with constitutional development in Nigeria. This is a very important topic in government. It appears in your exams every single year. By the end of this lesson, you will understand the Clifford Constitution of 1922, the Richards Constitution of 1946, the Macpherson Constitution of 1951, the Lyttelton Constitution of 1954, their features, merits, demerits, and how to answer exam questions. Take your notes, let us go. First, let me give you some background. Nigeria became a British colony in 1914. The British ruled Nigeria through a system called indirect rule. The British governor had all the power. Nigerians had no say in how they were governed. Over time, Nigerians began to demand a voice in their own affairs. They wanted to participate in government. The British responded by introducing a series of constitutions. Each constitution gave Nigerians a little more power. These constitutions led Nigeria step by step toward independence. Now let me explain the Clifford Constitution of 1922. This was the first constitution for Nigeria. It was named after Sir Hugh Clifford, the British governor. The constitution had several features. It created a legislative council for the colony of Lagos and the southern provinces. The legislative council had 46 members. 23 were officials. They were British government officials. 23 were unofficial members. Among the unofficial members, 4 were Africans elected by adult males in Lagos and Calabar. The governor had the casting vote. The northern provinces were not represented in the legislative council. They were governed separately by the governor. The governor had veto power. He could reject any law passed by the council. The merits of the Clifford Constitution included the introduction of the elective principle. For the first time, Nigerians could elect their own representatives. This was a major step forward. It also created a legislative council that included some Nigerians. It allowed Nigerians to participate in lawmaking. It also stimulated political activity. Political parties like the Nigerian National Democratic Party were formed to contest elections. The demerits of the Clifford Constitution included the limited franchise. Only adult males in Lagos and Calabar could vote. Most Nigerians had no voting rights. The northern provinces were excluded entirely from the legislative council. The governor still had veto power. He could override any decision of the council. The unofficial members had no real power. The governor and his officials controlled everything. It also failed to unite Nigeria. The north and south were still governed separately. Now let me explain the Richards Constitution of 1946. This constitution was named after Sir Arthur Richards, the British governor. It was created because the Clifford Constitution was too limited. Nigerians demanded more representation. The Richards Constitution had several features. It created a unified legislative council for the whole country. For the first time, northern and southern provinces were brought together in one council. The legislative council had 3 parts. The governor presided over the council. There were 16 official members, all British officials. There were 28 unofficial members. Among the unofficial members, 24 were Nigerians appointed by the governor. Only 4 were elected. The constitution also introduced regional assemblies. There were 3 regional assemblies: House of Chiefs in the north, House of Assembly in the east, and House of Assembly in the west. The regional assemblies had no lawmaking power. They only advised the legislative council. The merits of the Richards Constitution included the unification of Nigeria. For the first time, the North and South were brought together in one legislative council. It introduced regional assemblies. This recognized the diversity of Nigeria. It also increased Nigerian representation. There were more Nigerians in the legislative council than before. It also led to political awareness. Nigerians began to demand more rights. The demerits of the Richards Constitution included the fact that most unofficial members were appointed, not elected. Nigerians did not choose their representatives. The governor still had veto power. The regional assemblies had no real power. They could only advise. The constitution was imposed without consultation. Nigerians were not asked what they wanted. The constitution was also seen as too complex and expensive. Now let me explain the Macpherson Constitution of 1951. This constitution was named after Sir John Macpherson, the British governor. Unlike the previous constitutions, the Macpherson Constitution was based on consultations. Nigerians were asked for their views. The constitution had several features. It created a three-tier system of government. There were regional governments, a central government, and local governments. Each region had its own House of Assembly and House of Chiefs. The regional assemblies were given lawmaking power over certain subjects. The central government had a House of Representatives. The House of Representatives had 148 members. 136 were elected from the regions. 6 were appointed by the governor. 6 were official members. The constitution also created a Council of Ministers. The Council of Ministers had 18 members. 12 were Nigerians, 6 were British officials. The governor was the president of the council. The merits of the Macpherson Constitution included the fact that it was based on consultation. Nigerians were asked for their views. This gave it legitimacy. It introduced a federal structure with regional governments. This recognized Nigeria's diversity. It increased Nigerian participation in government. For the first time, Nigerians held ministerial positions. The regional assemblies had real lawmaking power. The constitution also promoted political party development. Parties like the Action Group, the NPC, and the NCNC grew stronger. The demerits of the Macpherson Constitution included the fact that the governor still had veto power. He could reject any law. The British officials still controlled the key ministries of finance, defence, and justice. The constitution was also too complex. The relationship between the centre and the regions was not clear. This led to conflict. The constitution collapsed in 1953 due to a crisis over self-government. The Eastern region demanded independence by 1956. The North opposed this. The conflict led to the breakdown of the constitution. Now let me explain the Lyttelton Constitution of 1954. This constitution was named after Oliver Lyttelton, the British colonial secretary. It was created to resolve the crisis caused by the collapse of the Macpherson Constitution. The constitution had several features. It established Nigeria as a true federation. The central government and the regional governments were given separate powers. The powers were listed in 3 lists. The exclusive list was for the central government only. It included defence, foreign affairs, currency, and mining. The concurrent list was for both the central and regional governments. It included higher education, industrial development, and health. The residual list was for the regional governments only. It included local government, agriculture, and chieftaincy affairs. The constitution created a central government with a council of ministers. The ministers were Nigerians. The governor no longer presided over the council. The governor only represented the Queen. The constitution also created regional governments with premiers. Each region had a premier as head of government. The Western region had Chief Obafemi Awolowo. The Eastern region had Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. The Northern region had Alhaji Ahmadu Bello. The constitution also created a federal Supreme Court. The court settled disputes between the central and regional governments. The merits of the Lyttelton Constitution included the establishment of true federalism. The regions had real power. The governor no longer presided over the Council of Ministers. Nigerians ran their own affairs. The constitution also introduced the position of premier. This gave regional leaders more authority. It also created a federal Supreme Court to resolve disputes. It also paved the way for independence. The constitution was the last step before full self-government. The demerits of the Lyttelton Constitution included the fact that the governor still had reserve powers. He could intervene in emergencies. The constitution also gave more power to the regions. This made the central government weak. It also contributed to ethnic and regional rivalries. The political parties were based on regions. The NPC represented the North. The NCNC represented the East. The Action Group represented the West. This regionalism later led to conflict and civil war. A common exam question asks you to describe the features of the Clifford Constitution. Here is a sample answer. The Clifford Constitution of 1922 created a legislative council for Lagos and the southern provinces. The council had 46 members. 4 Nigerians were elected from Lagos and Calabar. The northern provinces were not represented. The governor had veto power. The constitution introduced the elective principle for the first time in Nigeria. Another exam question asks you to compare the Richards and Macpherson constitutions. Here is your answer. The Richards Constitution of 1946 unified Nigeria under one legislative council. Most members were appointed, not elected. The Macpherson Constitution of 1951 was based on consultation. It created a three-tier federal system. Regional assemblies had lawmaking power. Nigerians held ministerial positions. The Macpherson Constitution was more democratic and gave Nigerians more participation than the Richards Constitution. Another exam question asks you to explain the significance of the Lyttelton Constitution. Here is your answer. The Lyttelton Constitution of 1954 established Nigeria as a true federation. It created three lists of powers: exclusive, concurrent, and residual. It created the position of premier in each region. The governor no longer presided over the Council of Ministers. Nigerians ran their own government. The Lyttelton Constitution was the last step before Nigeria gained independence in 1960. Here is what you need to take away. The Clifford Constitution of 1922 introduced the elective principle but limited it to Lagos and Calabar. The Richards Constitution of 1946 unified Nigeria, but most members were appointed. The Macpherson Constitution of 1951 was based on consultation and created a federal system. The Lyttelton Constitution of 1954 established true federalism and paved the way for independence. Each constitution gave Nigerians more power and led step by step to independence. Practice these concepts. When you have them down, move to topic 3.